The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14, verse 14. To learn more about Exodus 14 Ministries, visit exo14.org or call us at 423-278-2701. We are now serving both men and women, and if you or someone you care about needs help, we are here for you.
You feel like you're being interrogated right
No,
now?
I don't. Absolutely not.
You did? What did you do?
Allegedly.
Well, that's one big complicated word that all criminals know. Is that
Yes, they know that one.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
All right.
I can't say whether I did or didn't, but allegedly they're saying I did this.
How many times have you used that word allegedly?
Never, man. When I get caught, I did it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not even a good criminal. I wouldn't tell nobody about that.
That's how I did when I went to prison. They asked me. They said, "Well, would you like us to do a trial?" And I said, "Let's do a speedy trial. Let's get this over with. Give me my time. Let's do this."
Well, that's the thing. You're supposed to have a constitutional right to a speedy trial, but nobody ever gives you that. You hear about these trials; they're drug out 3 or 4 years. That's how, like the NAACP gets schools and stuff to shut down things because. It's not a matter that they can win in court. They just know the school can't afford to fight them in court. So that's how they got prayer and everything. Well, prayer was different, but the 10 Commandments and Bibles in classrooms, there was never a law passed that said it had to be that way. They just intimidated small public schools that didn't have a lot of money.
That's crazy.
So it was easy rather than a risk. You'd have to spend millions of dollars to fight that. That would bankrupt them sooner than they know that. That's why they pray on it. That's why I wish they could change something about that because it's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair at all.
Do they even do the Pledge of Allegiance in school anymore?
No.
Some schools do.
Some schools do. Some schools here in Greenville, Blake was telling us that they started church now and prayer and stuff now.
They've got a Bible. I know the guy who got the Bible put back in the schools. He was a young guy who just decided to do it.
Amen.
He went to the school board and convinced them that they need to have a class in the county high schools on the Bible. And then, of course, they let them meet for church. They have to go off campus. That's why those kids were coming over to our campus because they had used this one before. Because the public school, you can't have a Bible class or you can't have a deeply religious meeting, which I think's wrong too.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing them to go into these classes. So.
Right.
All right, so let's do this. Let's start off. If you can handle this, Brett, tell us your whole name.
Brett Allen Minor.
And where you're from.
I'm from Claiborne County, Tazewell, Tennessee.
And you're going to tell everybody that, don't you?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Most people from Claiborne don't recognize it. But anyway.
Well, how many people do you know from Claiborne?
I knew one.
Me.
Well, two. I wasn't counting you, didn't I?
Well, actually, Pastor Billy's from there.
Billy Taylor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's from Green County. I went to high school.
But he lives over there. He
don't
did.
live there now. He lives on Jellicoe Mountain.
Which is Clairfield.
Anyway.
Which is Claiborne County.
Listen to Mike here. It's just... That whole county ain't nothing but a truck stop or an interstate exit. Well, you ain't got an interstate.
No, we ain't got an interstate.
You got 25E.
25E, that's it. 33?
I used to know a few of those CR England drivers up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to work there for many years.
So what do you do here? Tell everybody what you do here.
I am an intern student and run the kitchen, do all the cooking and just anything and everything that the minister asked me to do.
Amen. Good things. All right, let's go to the interesting one. Josh.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not interested now?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, that hurts my
It's
feelings.
not your turn to talk, though, sir. Don't look that way. You're on camera. Put away the puppy dog.
Put your quiet finger up.
Tell us your full name if you want. I mean, everybody should have said you didn't have to use your full name, but if you want. Where you're from, what you do here.
My name is Joshua Allen Lifford. I'm originally from North Carolina. I was born in Mecklenburg County. I spent most of my life in California. Here at the ministry, I work in the kitchen with Brett. In the mornings, I do outreach, work in the marketing room, whatever they ask me to do. Yes, sir. Just encourage these guys.
So for everyone that's listening, these two guys are, and I don't want to get you set up for failure, but they're superstars here right now. You're both class acts. I mean, you guys, and I'll give you credit where credit's due, are the example of what a student should be here, what you can get out of here. And I appreciate y'all for doing that, and for just doing your part and doing what you're asked. Because as you see, there's some things way more than one person could ever conceive of or get going. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
But the point of this is this voices episode. That's what it's going to be called, Voices in the Wilderness, or Voices of the Wilderness. I don't know, but it'll be finalized Tuesday. But is for y'all to share your lives in a raw way, in just an open way. Now, you don't have to tell all your little secrets in life. Don't admit to any crimes that may or may not have allegedly been committed. But
You got the statute of limitation.
what we want to just get to the raw truth, because there's people out there that were in the same boat you were in.
Absolutely.
They have no idea that anything even exists that could help them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of setting the tone, I want you guys to be yourselves all the way through this. So let's get back to, let's just get the hard part over with first. Brett, when did your addiction start in life? How young?
I started smoking weed, let's see, 2011, so I was 10 or 11. Just right after Christmas, my stepbrother got killed in a car wreck on Christmas night. And him and my older stepsister, they were really close. They hung out, partied together. They were best friends. And then when he passed away, my stepsister kind of took me and to fill that void with her, with our older brother Jason, started partying with me, smoking weed and everything like that. So I started at a really young age at smoking weed. By the time I was 13, 14, I'd already done everything that you could think of besides, hallucinogenics and heroin.
So you grew up in a small town?
Yeah, very small town, yes.
How hard was it to get all that in a small town?
Not hard at all.
Because, some of those things you think about, I remember from my young days, you couldn't buy anything.
Yeah.
In the town I grew up in. You had to go to other places.
Yeah, it wasn't hard in my town because of the people. Let's see. So like my sister's husband, or they were dating at the time, his parents were truck drivers. And they partied and dabbled and stuff, so they was traveling all over the country.
High-speed chicken feed.
Yes, high-speed chicken feed and getting it. And plus, my town at that time was very corrupt with the police. Like our sheriff used to, like he was, and I can say this now because he's locked up now. But he used to, he was the biggest cocaine dealer in our county. So I mean, it was very easy to get stuff, and plus, like I said, I was young, and I didn't hang out with kids my age. I always was with my sister and her friends, which were 17, 18, 19 years old, and then hanging out with her friends' parents who partied and everything. So I always was just always around it, and always around just a bunch of nonsense, really, that I shouldn't have been around, But
so you had a lot of family influences.
Yeah, a lot of family.
How much would you say is really just a generational thing? Like one generation did it, the next did, the next did.
I don't know because I don't know my father,
Right.
and I don't know I didn't know my mom that well at the time. Like I hadn't seen my mom, and
Well, just the people in your life, though, your immediate life.
oh yeah, no, so my granny raised me, and my granny was straight and narrow. And the guy that she was with, who is more or less my stepdad, my father figure,
So she was your grandmother.
Yes. My grandmother was my mom, and she was my everything. She raised me from 3, 4 years old all the way up, and, you know what I mean, until she passed away last year.
So, okay, we might be getting ahead of ourselves.
Might
I
be,
think I
yeah.
might know where this next question goes, but with your grandmother in your life, though, it still wasn't enough to kind of keep you anchored in the right space.
Yeah. Well, she felt, man, that letting me have freedom and everything was like I guess she thought, man, that was the right way to do that, so I wouldn't rebel, I guess, against her, you know what I mean, and everything, you know. Because like I wasn't, I didn't get in no kind of trouble growing up as a kid or anything. Like I did when I was younger. I had anger issues and stuff when I was younger, but as I got older in my teenage years, I really slowed down, you know, because I had to take anger management and stuff like that as a kid. And then when I got in my teenage years, you know, I played sports. I played football, so like I dedicated my life to football and everything. But I was still, you know, partying and smoking weed and stuff like that on the weekends and everything. So I tried to stay straight like that, like as far as in school and everything like that, you know, because I didn't want to get kicked off the team or anything like that. But I was still, you know, behind the scenes doing everything that I shouldn't be doing. But at face value, everybody thought that I was.
And it was okay.
Yeah, everybody thought I was okay. Yeah.
Well, let's pause on that. What about you, Josh?
My my addiction started when I was about 12 years old as well. You know, I started smoking pot. You know, I really did it to fit in. You know, I had no real reason or desire to do it. Just did it because that's what, you know, the cool kids did. By the time I was, I'd say 14 or 15, somewhere in there, I started dabbling into coke, and then it became marijuana and coke, and, you know, and drinking came along at that time as well. Right before right before I got my license, when I was 16. So drinking came along with all that. So you know, coke and drinking and smoking pot really went hand in hand for a long time. Then I got my license when I was 16, and started getting into pain pills and stuff like that. And when I got into pain pills, before I ever did pain pills, my whole thing was just making money off of it so I could support my other habit. Then once I got hurt, I forget. I think I raced motocross coming up, so I got hurt. When I got hurt, I started taking these pain pills, and that I had been selling. And then when the opiate addiction started, it really progressed a lot. My stepfather, he did pain medication as well. That was one of his vices for a long time. And my mother, he wouldn't want my mother to catch him doing it, so he would always, you know, offer me the pain medication, and so it became a way of him hiding his addiction. So then it was like, okay, I know I could go to him to get it, so I kind of used that against him to a way for me to get what I wanted.
Right.
By the time I was 17, pain pills just wasn't enough anymore.
Right.
Then he later on in life became my brother-in-law, but I remember he had brought heroin to me, and I was on Callsner School Road in Dallas, North Carolina, and I remember when I shot that heroin in the kitchen, it was the races was on from there. It was like, man, I don't have to go chase pills. I ain't got to go look for nothing. Like, this is it right here. Like, this is what I want. Yeah. And as crazy as it sounds, that was my first love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was my first love. Like, I really, and not to sound crazy, but I really loved heroin. You know, like it took away because growing up in my house, my grandparents as well raised me from the time I was 12 on, but mom still lived 2 doors down. But stepdad was a very nasty person. Very verbally abusive, physically, mentally, really strong mentally. Like, I was always told I would never amount to nothing, so I really didn't believe in myself. My self-esteem was very low, and I looked down on myself very much. I didn't feel like I was good at anything for a long time but shooting heroin. I was good at drug dealing and doing that, and it made me feel. It did make me feel really, I guess, you know, because I know I could, if I'd sleep through the storm, so to say. I'd do the heroin, and then and everything was at peace. I didn't have to worry about nothing.
So would it be fair to say that the heroin use kind of gave you a sense of battle?
Yeah.
This was something you were good at. Nobody could take it away. Nobody could demean you. You knew you were good at this.
Yeah.
No matter how detrimental it was.
Right. Yeah.
So let me ask you this out of curiosity. You know, you said something, and I've not heard that a lot, but I wonder how common it is that someone starts off actually just trying to deal pills and ends up being hooked themselves. You hear that a lot?
I did.
Yeah.
I was in the same boat because I didn't Like I didn't do pills because when I was in high school, so like when I was in a sophomore in high school, my best friend, who I'm still very close with today, his mom left him, like just up and left him at the trailer by itself on Christmas. And I remember he calling me, man, crying and stuff. So I went there, man. But what I'm getting at is his older brother and the crowd that they ran around with was like the biggest coke dealer, was some of the biggest coke dealers in our county. And they watched after us and like they made us go to school, do right. We could smoke as much weed as we want to, but we couldn't do anything else. If we got caught doing anything else, man, like they'd probably whooped us and everything. So then like I wasn't doing nothing but smoking weed throughout high school. I started selling pills, because my sister, she was a pharmacy tech at Walmart, and she was just getting a bunch of pills and bringing them home, and I'd take them to school and sell them. So that's how I got started on pills.
I am so glad you said pharmacy tech, because I thought something else was about to come out and I was going to jump up and clap. I don't know why, but I was like, oh man, this ain't good. I mean, listen, I don't belong my sister either, so but no, I understood. And I understand a lot because I watched my sister go through this.
Yeah.
And that's what's fascinating about this. When you start digging these stories out, man, it's the same story.
Yeah, it's just an evolving door.
A young man's left, or he's got an abusive situation. Down you're left, you grow up, you become a man, but nobody's ever really told you how to be.
Told you how to be a man, yeah.
And you got to figure this out.
Figure it out.
I can relate to that. My one saving grace was I had a stepdad that stepped in when I was 17, which was a little late in some ways. I'd already messed a lot of stuff up, but he actually put the time, like I was his son, and really got me. And me and him even partied together, but he was like that, a little reefer and some beer, but anything beyond that, he'd kick your tail.
Yeah.
And people talk about that even, and I heard that marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's if we could go back to the way it was when I was in high school, I'd be like, we don't even need to worry about it. But the stuff I'm hearing they're making now,
it's insane.
Yeah, like opioids, like opium or heroin, just and the fact that you can go into any gas station now and get just as whatever you want.
Just whatever that blew my mind when I got out of prison. And I was like, man, I got out of prison, was wanting to smoke. And I was like, man, I need, can anybody get me a vape or something? They're like, man, just go to the gas station. I'm like, I don't want a nicotine vape. I want a weed vape. And they're like, go to the gas station. I was like, what are you talking about? I said, just go to the gas station.
So were those around before they were legal? The THC vapes?
They wasn't around.
Always been legal.
No, like they wasn't around. I went to prison in 2019 and they wasn't there.
Now, I know California probably had it.
Yeah, California, they got I mean, you got stores on the corners everywhere. I mean, they had these wax pens that you could get. But see, the thing was too is like you said, like back in school, I remember they had what they called Reggie, which is like Reggie, it was like regular weed. Like then you had to pick the seeds and stems out of it.
Yeah.
Now you go in there and they got the concentrate, like the wax.
Yeah.
And that's in California, and
I've seen that wax on shelves around here.
Yeah, you can get wax here. Yeah, it's here on the shelves here.
Yeah, we used to get that. Well, I don't want to make this an episode about marijuana consumption, but the big thing was hash.
Yeah.
So that's kind of puts you where I was in the 80s. Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, these days I think they call it what, keef?
Yeah, hash. Yeah, they call it what?
I remember that was like, but getting a hold of some hash, that was like Christmas Day. I mean,
like gold. It's like gold, yeah. So like your hash is to like the kids nowadays is what they call keef nowadays. Is what you.
Yeah. I wonder how the Keiths of the world feel about that.
Keef.
Yeah.
Not Keith. Keef.
Yeah. Let's. Anyway, let's go back to you. So kind of the same story growing up. When and then you found your first love, which was heroin.
Yeah.
And now look, there's a lot of people, if they were honest, they'd say that. Because I remember, before my stepdad came in the picture, I didn't get along with my dad. He was a raging alcoholic, and I hated everything about him because of it. but I ended up duplicating what he was doing. And my mom could be a little strict and over the top, but she was always good. In my teenage mind, she was over the top. So weigh that out.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I smoked a joint, I felt this empowerment. Now, understanding now, it didn't come from the good place. It came from darkness.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I felt this rebellious empowerment, like you can't control this. You can't come in my mind and control this. You know, and I really didn't even think about it that way then. But looking back, do you guys kind of associate with that?
Man, I'll tell you what, man, there was. All right, so you mentioned something about, your stepfather. I know my stepfather was a person I couldn't stand more than anything in my life. I couldn't stand him. I didn't like what he did. I didn't like how he treated my mother. But I think what was a product of my environment at the time was shooting heroin, right? And I got in this relationship with who was my first wife. Her name was Leslie. And you're talking about that you can't have power over me because I have the power. But what it was is I felt like I had tapped into a darkness that I didn't even realize I had tapped into, right? But I didn't know it until one day we were in the truck and I started talking to her and I started screaming at her. And the voice that had come out of me, I had never heard in my life, but I knew it was something evil. And the way it felt was just a feeling that I can't even describe to you. But I remember after I screamed at her that day, I remember going and sitting by myself and really just tripping like, man, where did that come from? Because the way that I had hollered and what had came out of me was just something that, thank God he's rescued me from that. Praise you, Lord. Thank you, God. But that darkness that come out of me was just something that scared me to death. Like, it scared me.
Was there other moments leading up to that, or was that the moment when you realized I'm out of control?
There was moments that led up to it, but I was in denial. I would just, I would see it, but I didn't want to.
So this was this the moment then maybe where you could say that you realized I don't have control of this?
Yeah, I realized I was out of control then. Right then is when I was like, man, this is bad. What have I got myself into? But I was so addicted and I needed it so bad. I couldn't function without it, And it was like, and there was years that went by as well where I would only get like, the only time I would sleep is when I would do a shot of heroin, right? Because I wouldn't sleep through the night. That's the only way I could sleep because my body had got so dependent on opiates that I just didn't even function right. It's hard to explain. It's just like, but it was just this darkness I was living too, because there's something I like to tell people, right? If you see on front of liquor stores, they used to have spirits on the top of the liquor store, right? And I never understood that until I started shooting heroin. But when I started shooting heroin, I thought one day to myself, after this incident had happened, me screaming, I thought about that, a little bit after, and I was like, spirits. I was like, every drug comes with a spirit. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really started thinking about. I'm like, man, I've got myself into, like I just said, I got myself into something like, this is bad, And at that moment, I started trying to pull myself out of it, right, by my own devices. But there was times where I ended up I remember one time I went to jail probably 22 times in 1 month. You know what I mean? Just getting in and out, in and out, in and out.
But it was trying to get help, but just didn't know.
Yeah, I was crying out for help, but I just didn't know who to ask or where to go. I was ashamed of what I was doing, right? It was 90 degrees outside and I'm wearing long sleeve shirts to hide my track marks. Because I had them all over me, and that's and that's one reason I got neck tattoos is it was to hide my track marks. That's what the whole deal was. And it was put out an image too of a toughness, but yeah, I was always just trying to hide, hide all the time, and it's just eventually it comes out. You can only hide it for so long, right. But eventually it's gonna come out. Eventually people's gonna see it, and my mother had seen it, and my grandparents had seen it, and it was just like, man, like what have I done?
How surprised were you? Or was there any surprise when you realized the people around you knew you had a problem before you did? Or does that ever come up in conversation?
I wasn't really surprised. I don't know if I was surprised or not. I was more embarrassed. Right. I was more embarrassed when they found out because I kind of knew that they knew something was going on because I was the type of kid that I seen my brothers and sisters get caught doing stuff, right? But I'm like, well, you ain't gonna catch me doing nothing because I'm gonna tell you I'm doing it. So therefore, if I tell you I'm doing it, you can't catch me doing it. And that was my motto.
Yeah.
But I did. Now, on the other hand, I did with my grandfather. I did block stuff from him because he was my role model. He's everything that I do today. He taught me how to like work with my hands, how to respect people, how to have manners, things of that nature. So he was my role model.
Right.
So when my mom found out, it wasn't that big of a deal. My grandmother, she was a hush hush type of person. She wouldn't really say anything either. So he was the biggest one, I guess. And then my brother Scooter, I didn't want him to find out either, right? So when my grandfather and him and my grandfather and my brother found out, then it was just like, oh man, like I'm embarrassed. Like this is bad. Like I'm embarrassed because I knew deep down inside, I had a sense of it. I knew who I could be, right? I was saved November 12th of 2002 when I was 12, and I knew God had been dealing with me, but I'd entertained this darkness for so long and lost my way. So, and like I said a minute ago, I got myself lost into something I didn't even know where I had got myself to. You know what I mean? It's just this darkness that I was in. It's hard to explain, but you know what I'm saying, Brett? Like it's a heroin's a crazy drug, man. I'll tell you what, it's dark. It's really
I can't
dark.
really relate with you that much on heroin, but like the dependent part, like it might sound crazy, but I used to be like that with weed. Like I didn't like, like my whole life, weed has been a part of my life since I was 10, and like there would be times.
That explains so much, does it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, seriously. Let me ask you then. What was the moment like for you, Brett, when you realized you don't have control of this anymore? Looking back.
Like I think I'm trying like I really didn't, like I said, like I just smoked weed, like I dabbled with, with like when I was a kid with a high speed chicken feed, but I was like my freshman year, that's the last time I'd done any of that for like 10, 15 years, it was just weed. I moved to Texas when I was 21, got married, and me and my ex-wife, we got married and I adopted her little girl and everything. And then we was married for like a year and a half or something. When me and her split up, man, and I come back to Tennessee, I was just devastated, man, because, I adopted her little girl and me having to, we split up, man, and me having to sit down and talk to her and tell her, that I don't know if she's going to get to see her dad again. I'm going back to Tennessee, man, was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And then I come back 3 weeks later, my wife's like, I miss you. I want you to come back. So I went back, got there on a Thursday night. The following Thursday, she told me to pack up and leave again. And I had to do this conversation with her again. And when I come back, I just fell into, that's when I started, shooting pain pills and actually shooting up. I used to always be against needles and everything. We didn't want to be around people who did it, just looked down on them and everything. And then I started using it. And then that's when I think, like, that's kind of whenever I kind of started realizing, man, that I don't have a control risk. Because I used to be, growing up, when I would dabble in anything, man, it could be like a weekend warrior. I could do it, put it down, no problem. Weed, I never could do that. And then, I come back from Texas and everything, and I started doing some boxing. And, man, I was shooting like 2 strips of Suboxone a day. And I told myself, I was like, Brett, you got to get off this, man. You're spending way too much money on this, man. Like, I've been working at a welding shop making good money, but I ain't got nothing to show for it. Like, you got to do something, So I remember telling myself, like, you got to wean yourself off of this, but it's going to take a while. So in I'll never forget, this was in July. I was on break. I was on 4th of July vacation. I was like, you're going to start weaning yourself down until Christmas. You need to be off of by the first of the year. So I started winging myself down. And then when Christmas came, I remember I did like a little piece of Suboxone on a Tuesday. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to do no more. That way I'll be at home. I'll be out. I got like 17 days off vacation time. I ain't going to have to worry about being sick, going to work, this, that, and other. And man, the sickness from that just lasted forever. I think, like, I woke up, it was like day 16. I'd been up for like 3 days, couldn't sleep at night because you can't sleep at night when you're coming off that stuff. Your body's hurting. You got the shakes and everything. I was like, man, I can't do this no more. And a friend of mine came over and picked me up, and I was going to have him take me to go get a pain pill so I could do it so I wouldn't be sick. He's like, man, you want to come hang out with me, man? And this, that, and other. I was like, man, I just want to get this pill so I not be sick. He's like, man, you come hang out with me and do some of the, he had some meth. He's like, man, we come do some of this ice. And I thought to myself, I was like, there's no way I'm doing that because then I know I'm going to be up all night. And the sickness from Suboxone doesn't hit you until nighttime. For some odd reason, it like doesn't kick in until like 8, 9 o'clock at night when you go to lay down. And he ended up talking me into doing it. And I didn't get sick that night. And I was like, all right, this is cool. All right, yeah. So then that's when I started doing meds. And then, man, like when I found out, man, that I didn't really have no control over it, man, I remember I hadn't been home. I was staying with my grandmother, and I hadn't been home in a while. And me and my girlfriend at the time, man, like she went to jail, and I got stranded. So I walked to my mama's house, crashed out. And I remember waking up, and my mama left a letter on the table for me, telling me, man, that I couldn't stay there no more because she had went in there and found some needles in my bedroom and stuff, and was like, you can't stay here no more. And man, that really devastated me, man. Like, just broke my heart. Like I let my mama down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then that's whenever I just went into a downward spiral. Especially with the meth and everything. It was just bad.
So let's switch over to Joshua now. So when you realized you got to get some help, you got to change something. What was life like then? Did you go find help that day, or did you have to lay in the mud a little while? And I'm gonna give you, this reminds me of someone I met one time, and it was really a blessing in disguise because I used to party hard, and when I was a truck driver, single and partying, I had unlimited money, or what I thought was unlimited. But I remember running across another driver in Louisiana who was smoking meth ice, and I did a little with him. That was never my thing, but just hanging out in the bar or whatever, But he said something to me. He said, I'm hooked on this now. He said, I'll probably do this till it kills me. And he was perfectly fine with it. And that it disturbed me even in that night. That disturbed me to think, you've got a hold of something that you're just willing to die with now.
Yeah.
You don't care what it takes, what time for your life, family, whatever. And I hope that I don't never run across that guy again. So hopefully he's okay. But that really struck me. Did you ever get to that place where you thought, I'm not going to be able to do any better? I might as well just deal with who I am.
Yeah, I had came to terms with that's just who I was going to be. Now you'd ask if I'd got help. I don't remember exactly how long it was after that, but I do remember when I first. Now my mom, she knew I was using, right, but she didn't know what I was using. I remember when I needed help, I was at my grandparents' house, and I called my mom and I told her, I said, I need you to come to the house. I need you to come to Grandpa's real quick. I need to talk to you. Like something seriously is wrong. So she came over there, and when she did, I remember my grandfather, he has a pretty nice front porch, and there's like brick steps, and it goes on the sidewalk, and the driveway's right there, and there's a privacy fence that separates my mom's house from my stepdad's mom's and my mom's. And I remember I got to the driveway, and I just broke down. I just broke down in the driveway, and I just told her, I said, Mom, I was like, I got a heroin addiction. And she looked at me, and before I say this, my mom's my rock. Yeah. My mom's my best friend. She never judged me for whatever I've ever went through. She's always been there to help me. She's always stuck a hand out and helped me. How can I help you? Never kicked me to the curb or nothing. Just always interested in how she could help me do better. So sitting there in the driveway, I broke down to her, and then I just remember laying in the driveway and just telling her, I can't take this no more. Like I can't take who I am anymore. I can't stand to look in the mirror at myself anymore. I don't like who I became. And the conversation even went further, and I can't remember everything that was said, but I asked her, I begged her, just please get me help. And she sent me to a place in Florida. It was called Angels Recovery. It was in Wellington, Florida. And I remember I went there, and when I went there, I still had reservations. My whole objective then was, okay, I need to get off heroin, but I can still smoke pot and drink when I get out of here. Yeah. That was my thoughts. It was like, okay, I can leave this poison, but I can still handle this over here. This will be all right. I can do this. And this is how silly I was at the time. As I was involved in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And there's a reading in Alcoholics Anonymous that says, if you can drink like a gentleman, our hats are off to you.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm that gentleman right there. I can do that, you know. And
Yes.
so I went to rehab down there for a little while, and my my thought process was hit. You know, it was hit. But so I left that rehab and went back home for a little bit. As a matter of fact, when I went back home, I took a buddy with me. His name was Desi. He was a private investigator. That was kind of like my thrill when I was down there in the rehab. Right, he was a private investigator, and I became best friends with him, kind of like I am with Brett. Me and him are pretty close, like me and Brett are. And I started sitting down, and I started, you know, at the rehab, I started sitting down and doing private investigating with this guy, helping track people down on the computer. So it just became a thrill to me. So me and him graduated this program at the same time. And we went. I called my mom. I said, "Hey, Mom, can we come back to your house?" And she's like, "Yeah, y'all can come back here until y'all find a place to stay." All right, cool. So as we're going home, you know, I had the bright idea to look at him, and I told him about the reading that I just told you about. I was like, "Dude, you remember when they said that if you can drink like a gentleman, our hats are off to you?" I was like, "Do you think you're that gentleman?" He's like, "Yeah, man, we can have one." Well, you know, from where Mom lives, it's a 13, 14-hour drive. Well, by the time we got to Mom's, we're plastered. We had a lot to drink already. And I got to my mom's, and she wasn't happy, you know, of course. You just got to rehab. You've been out a day, and you're back at it again. So I went for help, but deep down inside of me, I was still wanting to hang on to something. I was still wanting to hang on that part of me because I still had low self-esteem. I really hadn't worked on anything but just white knuckling it. That's what I did. I was just like, in my head, I was like, okay, I'm not on heroin no more. I can do this. I can manage this. You know, just drinking won't be as bad as heroin was. That was kind of my thought process. It was pretty bad. And then a little bit after that, my downfall was Desi, the guy that had moved back with me. He ended up leaving and going to Texas, and I got a call 3 days later that he had overdosed in a hotel room and died. And when that happened, not right after, but a few weeks after, I had a problem dealing with grief. Like, I had a problem grieving people's deaths. My dad had left me at an early age, right? So ever since that early age, I can remember Dad had left, and I didn't understand why, and I didn't deal good with, you know, grieving people leaving out of my life, because I always felt like people would go out of my life very quickly, very quickly, very quickly. So when Desi went out of my life soon after, you know, after that happened, here I was again picking up heroin. And at this time, when I picked up the heroin, it was a little bit after that I went to California, you know, again, and I dabbled in California in and out until I actually went there to stay. And I was in my early 20s then. And then once I got to California, it was being next to the border like that. Heroin was way easier. Like you'd mentioned earlier, how hard it was to get things in your town.
Way easy, way cheap.
California was like, man, the heroin's cheaper here. It's right here, and I can get more of it. So you talked about, you thought you had endless amounts of money, right? In my head, I'm like, man, I can get all this heroin. I can have me a little bit of money over here. I can sell a little bit, and I can still have enough to do it. And I can support my habit, and I can manage this. I can do this, and I can pay for my house. I can pay for whatever I need. But when that happened, it was like it would never be enough. I'd get down to a certain amount, and I'd have enough left to do me a month or two. It'd get down to a certain amount, and I was tripping out already. I'm like, man, I need more. How am I going to get more? And I'd some way find my way to get more. And this went on until, gosh, years. And then I ended up in, you know, fentanyl. And then that's when things got real. That's when things got really real.
We'll catch back up to that.
Yeah.
So Brett, you go home, your grandmother, your mama, I don't know what to call her.
Mama.
Yeah, mama.
Yeah.
You find a letter.
Yeah.
What's your next thought? When you see that letter, obviously you're disappointed.
Yeah.
So what happened? What was the next section of your life like?
The next section of my life was living on the streets, house to house. You know, that's whenever I really started selling methamphetamine a lot. Like I got in with some people, you know, with my sister's ex-husband, man, my ex-brother-in-law, me and him got in with it. And I just started selling dope. It's crazy, like, that's kind of how I got going, man. It was I would sell dope for people. People seen that I could get it very cheap and that you can make money from it. So I would, you know, go and get people some dope. And I, you know, like at this time, nobody didn't know nothing about methamphetamine at that time. So I was going and getting it, showing them how to sell it, doing this, doing that, and just to build it up, man, and kind of like made a name for myself with selling dope and everything. So I was just living on the streets, really, man, for a while, man, until I had saved up some money and met some people and everything, man, to get me a place and everything. And man, hold on a minute here. Yeah, so that's after I moved back from Texas, yeah. And I went back to, let's see, ended up getting back with some people. Going back to when I was in high school, my best friend Brad, the guys that used to look after me and him when we were in school, I ended up getting back in touch with them. And when I got back in touch with them, that's when things really started changing for me, like as far as like going bad, like, because then I started, I was just going and getting, little ounce here and there, to now I'm getting pounds and selling a lot and really getting my name out there. Then, the police started really looking at me and everything. And
That's the danger of that kind of life.
yeah, it's the danger.
Publicity's not any good.
The publicity's not any good. You like it. You think it's good. You're like, oh yeah, man. It makes you feel good. Like, yeah, everybody wants to, call you. You're the man and everything. But it comes with a major price. You know what I mean? And like, so in like 2000. I was staying with my nephew's mom, and I was staying there with one of my friends, and he was on parole or probation. Yeah, he was on parole. So his parole officer shows up there and knocking on the door. Well, he wasn't there, and it was me, my nephew's mom, this girl that I was with at the time, and another girl. And everybody was tripping. I'm like, guys, calm down. Don't open the door, like they're here for Kevin. Don't open the door. It'll be all right, da 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 da. Well, next thing I know, I hear somebody in there opening up the door. No, I'm telling everybody not to trip. Don't open up the door. The girl that I was with, she had a warrant out for her, and I'm trying to tell her, like, look, man, let's go get your stuff, man. We're gonna go out the back door, da 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 da. We'll go out here and hide in the house.
Because they would never think of watching the back door.
Well, the thing is they actually wasn't. I mean, we had a camera system, so I know that they wasn't out there.
All right.
Yeah, we had, we was kind of, yeah. So I was telling her this, man. Well, I was like, I'm gonna go get the stuff, and I remember going into the other room, getting all my stuff, going back in there, and I'm like, where'd she go? Like, she's in the closet. And I'm like, what? I was like, what are you doing in the closet? Come on. About that time, that's when I heard the front door open. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I just laid down on the bed, and I remember they come in there, cops come in and was like, asking my nephew's mom, like, what are you doing? Da 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 da. And he's like, well, who's this? And she was like, oh, that's my little cousin, Brett. And he was like, in that parole officer was like, Brett who? And she's like, Brett Minor. And whenever he said that, the officer that was in the living room was like, hey, tell Mr. Minor I need to talk to him. Come in here. So I was like, oh man, here we go. So I get up and I go in there. Because all the cops in my hometown, they all know me. Either went to school with me or, like, they know me, so they's like, come in here. So I remember going in there.
This might be on YouTube.
Yeah, it probably is. So I remember going in there and he's like, what are you doing, Mr. Minor? And I was like, just hanging out, And he's like, you got anything on you? And I was like, no. He's like, you care if I search you? I was like, no, go ahead, So he searches me and he's like halfway done with the search, and then something happens and he stops. Well, when he stops, I'm thinking I'm done, so I'm standing there, and then all of a sudden it dawns on me. I was like, wait a minute. I've got something in my little rabbit pocket in my pants. And I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, man, are we good? Like, what y'all got going on? And he's like, no, we're not good. He's like, get your hands back up on the wall. And I was like, oh man. And it was like crazy. Like he knew what I was thinking. Cause as soon as he went back to searching, he went straight for it. Got it, pulled it out. I had a bag of dope on me. I was like, man. Took me to jail, and I went to jail. And I was in jail, and I remember going into court, and they postponed me. So I was like, all right. I went back to court the next time, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I just got caught this little bit. So all they're going to do to me is give me 30 days in jail, 9 months, or 30 days in jail and give me 1129 probation. So I'll go in there to talk to my lawyer, and I sit down. My lawyer's like, you want something to drink? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he sits his little pad down, and I look over at the pad, and I see my name with 8 years, 2 years split confinement out from it. I'm like, what in the world? So he comes back, sits down. He's like, it's not looking good, Mr. Minor. I was like, what do you mean it's not looking good? And he tells me, they're trying to give you 8 years, 2 years split confinement. And I was like, there's no way. I'm not doing that. There's no way. Like, I'm not, like, I only got caught with this little bit amount. Like, how is that possible? Well, come to find out, the police went in there and searched the house, and they actually found the rest of my dope, which was a lot. And
8 years worth.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Expensive.
Yeah, it was about 80 some grams. And I was like, man, y'all can't prove that that's mine. Like, how do you know that that's mine? They was like, well, you got caught with dope in your pocket and the baggie, and we tested the dope with the dope, and it's all the same. I'm like, well, I'm at a known dope dealer's house. Like, how can you prove that that's mine? And the cop and my lawyer kept telling me, I was like, man, I'm not doing this. I was like, you might as well tell him to box this up. We're taking this to trial. I'm not signing that. He's like, look here, man. He's like, I'm telling you, you better take it, because if you don't, they're going to give you all this. And I was like, you better go tell him to figure something else out. I'm not taking that. And I ended up getting 6 months, 6 years split confinement. And I was like, all right, I can do this 6 months. I'll be fine, get back out there. In my head, I knew I was going to go to prison, because I was always taught growing up, don't ever sign anything if you are not willing to do it. So I knew in my head that I was going to end up doing it, but I was going to do it on my time. I wasn't going to do it on their time. So I did my little 6 months, man. I got out, and I remember getting out, and I went back to see my same people, and when I went back to see them, they was like, look, man, we're really big now. We're doing it, man. We're getting pounds and pounds a month, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, all right. About a month after I got out, the feds come and kicked in our door. And I mean, just by the grace of God that I didn't catch a Fed case. But the feds came, and I ended up leaving Tennessee, going to Kentucky for a little while. I come back, and I ended up getting caught. I went to jail for like 75 days for violation time. And at that time, I'd met a girl, man, who was actually a really good girl, man. She didn't do nothing. She was she had her own hair salon and stuff, man. And I told her, I was like, listen, man, when I get out of jail, I was like, I promise you, if you stick here by my side with me, when I get out, I'll stop everything. I'll go straight and narrow and everything. And she was like, all right. When she did, I got out, man, and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina with her. And we was there, and I didn't know, but she was staying with her mom. So when we got there, man, like, her mom was tripping about me being there and stuff. And one of my old dope dealers that I used to sell with kept calling me and was like, look, Brad, I need you to come back, man. Like, we've got the connect of a lifetime now. Like, we can get whatever we want on front, this, that, and other. And I was like, look, I'm not going to do it. I promised my girl that I'm not going to do that, da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, all right, man, I respect that. And I was like, I appreciate that, Well, then about a week later, apparently she called my girlfriend and was talking to her and talked my girlfriend into it. So I remember my girlfriend come home from work, her and her mom got into it, and she's like, we're going back to Tazewell. And I'm like, for what? She's like, because, the girl my partner I'm talking about, I call her mama. She was the older lady. She's like, your mama called, man, she needs you, we're going back. So I remember coming back to Tazewell. Actually, her mom was going to bring us back to Tennessee. It was snowing, but her mom stopped somewhere in North Carolina and dropped us off at a gas station. And I had to call my younger brother to come get us and take us back to Tazewell. And I remember getting there to Tazewell, I remember walking in. I called him, I was like, hey, I'm on my way. Had me a shot of dope ready, and let's get this thing going. I remember walking in, doing that shot of dope, and she handed me like $5,000.
To learn more about Exodus 14 Ministries, visit exo14.org or call us at 423-278-2701. We are now serving both men and women, and if you or someone you care about needs help, we are here for you.
This isn't everything I wanted to share with you tonight, but it's all we have time for. And if this stirred something in you, there's more to walk through. Your field, your altar, your answer is available on Amazon. Get your copy today.